Hey there, friends. Welcome to Hawkeye Speaks and the Cat Gang. Just have a moment here where we're out on a little morning walk. The winds haven't picked up yet, and seem to have a chance to check in with you, let you know what's going on. So, just as a brief update, Toyota's got babies. She's got 4 kittens at home, and this is their first time getting out on a hike since she had babies. So I'm glad she's happy to leave them there. Feels safe. That's cool. All right. All gravy. All good. Nikio's been living at the neighbor's house or something. She's got bored of the babies. But anyway, that's what's up with the cats. And then to tell you what's up with me and what's going on in my mind lately is I'm settled into this way of thinking about the maturation of the psyche, about these journeys that we go through as a necessity of growth, and that happen at many different levels, kind of the fractality of existence. I'm thinking about how language is a double-edged sword used for the conveyance of meaning and our beliefs in truth and our desire to share experience, but that language can also be used to deceive, that language is inherently reductionistic by nature, meaning that when we use words to describe experiences, our perception of reality, things, objects, as well as subjects, we are just, by the nature of the use of language, we are reducing complex concepts down to describable entities. It is a practice of objectification. So, as our species moves into this use of language, and then moves into this use of manipulation of matter into tools, and then following tool formation and usage, there is the manipulation of matter into toys and gadgets and all manner of creations to every extent that one could imagine. These processes are the reduction of mind. This is what I'm thinking about lately, is that reductionism, I like to say reductionism is not just reductionism in science, it's the reductionism of science, because the whole edifice of science itself becomes reduced by its own reductionist means of search for linear causation. So, reductionism of science, that's cool, but it's actually even bigger than that, where it's reductionism of the mind. Our own ways of perceiving the world actually become limited by our use of language and tools. Going a step further, in one direction, we could see the similarity with the materialist consumerist materialism, that we always have a tendency, as part of our fear-based mechanisms of thinking, to do othering, to separate ourselves and to imagine an isolated entity of the self. And within that othering, we do engage in such ways of thinking as, oh, those other people, they're the materialists, consumers, they're the product addicts. This kind of blame game, scapegoating. Whereas the reality with materialist consumerism is that if we live in the modern world, if you're not a complete indigenous tribes person living with, traditional practices and no inventions of modernity whatsoever, then maybe you're an exception. But otherwise, all of us, every single person living in modern society, is a part of this materialization of not just our relationship with the earth and the way that we engage with consumption versus regeneration, but it's also the materialization of our ways of perception. So as our species is developing, we're on this trajectory of maturation, which not everyone is progressing forward on. There's also devolution at the same time as evolution. So as we move from a purely phenomenological platform of experience into an objectifying platform of manipulation of our surroundings, material and metaphysical, through the use of language, through the practices of materialism. Okay, that takes us away from the experiential world, away from that idealized vision of communicating with the heart language, to being stuck in this left brain modality of analytical thinking and ways of relating. So the whole species has to go back into the cave. This is what I'm thinking about lately, this modern allegory of the cave, that this journey that we're on to define the world around us in language, to relate to the world around us with inventions, things, gadgets, material goods, to adopt this practice of the usage of currency, of money, as an intermediary between us and the living world. This barrier, this insulation, as we live in houses and cars that are quite literally barriers and insulating us from the natural world. We go into the cave. We lose our ability to see the living light of interconnected interdependency that is the world that we're actually in, and our intellect becomes reduced. So it's not just reductionism of science, it's reductionism of the mind. And it's not just materialist consumerism that those others do. No, materialist consumerism actually consumes us. It actually eats up a part of our own ability to be fully present and engaged in the actual living world that we are actually within. So, consumerism consumes us, and no one escapes this fate. No one can, even those that are still indigenous to the land in the old ways, that are free from any type of materialist gadgetry. They still have to go down this road because it's part of the development of our species, just as moving into the use of language is just a part of the trajectory that we're on. So it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's not something to cry about. It's just the way that it is, that we've lost some of what it means to be present, to be fully here in this world, to be in the world but not of the world. So I just wanted to share with you these few thoughts, talking about the interrelatedness at the metaphysical level, how the inner environment, it's not different from the outer environment, but inversely it actually mirrors. This desertification that we see right here in front of me, this loss of ecosystem diversity and resiliency, this is mirroring this trajectory of human development. It doesn't have to be this way. This land all around us, where I am right here, us with these kitties, this can be fertile, it can be green, lush with diverse plant species and animal species all interacting with one another. that creates stability in the living conditions of the environment. Okay, it can be that way. There's nothing in the terms of nature that are stopping it. It's in the element of mind, actually. It's in the elements of psychology. I know this may seem paradoxical, like we want to blame some type of action. We want to blame some big entity like a global activity that's destroying. Well, there is a global activity. It started thousands and thousands of years ago with our descent down this path of objectifying the world around us through the use of language and through the creation of tools, and then through the manipulation of matter into all form of objects. This is a path that we had to take. And we have become very wise in some ways as a regard, but we have also become very ignorant in other ways. This land, it's totally remediable. It's totally healable. It doesn't take much to change the trajectory of ecological development. And we can also see that with relationships, that you put in a little bit of work and you can get a lot back out. But if we are complacent and we step away from what is asked of us, we get depressing results. So, also at the molecular level, we have the genes, the genome, and the environment. And at the molecular level, there's no distinction. There isn't gene-directed development and then environmental conditions. No, these are just most simply one picture. Genes and environment. So that's what I mean about how this story that we see unfolding right before us here, this desertifying land, happening all over the world for thousands and thousands of years, it mirrors this trajectory of human development. Okay, it is governed first and foremost by mind, by the psyche, because intelligence comes first. Creativity comes first. That's how also at the molecular level, but within the metaphysical sense, the debate or the divide between creation and creationism and evolutionism is a false one. It's a false argument. If we actually go outside and commune with nature, we find that there is only one, creative evolution. And when we lose the creativity, we see devolution, we see digression, we see recession. So all there is, in association with vitality, life creates life, leads to more complexity and biodiversity. And it is through the conditions of morbidity that we see loss of complexity, loss of biodiversity, loss of multiplicity of even ways of perceiving. Once again, coming back to the origin, which is the psyche, the states of mind. So that's just what's been going on with me. I wanted to take this moment to share some of these thoughts with you. There's other things I want to talk about and make videos about, but I don't know. I always wonder what should I actually talk about when there's so many different things I'm thinking about and writing about and reading about. So this morning, just wanted to take an opportunity to talk about what I consider to be the most important, though it may seem to be some of the most random and non-aggregated thoughts. But hey, that's what's going on in here. This allegory of the cave, coming out of the cave, seeing that the world around us is alive, seeing that all matter is imbued with life energy, that life energy, the creative aspect of life, is the organizing principle that guides evolution forward. and that it is the decisions we make and the actions that we take that are the determining factor as to whether we see the proliferation or the loss of life, and that it is recognizing that it is the scale of vitality to morbidity intrinsic to life itself which determines the results that we're going to see. All right, I'm going to cut it off there. Peace.